Can you share a story meeting someone while traveling and how it impacted your life in a profound way?
Sure. I might even rewind a little bit and just say, up until 5 years ago, I was in corporate publishing and had a really big and exciting career. But there was something that was missing for me. And one of those things was that my clients were asking for video, social, digital, and we weren't set up in our current capacity to deliver. And so that was frustrating for me. And then on the flip side, editorially, I was like, why do I travel? And that's because I love meeting new people that bring a destination to life. And editorially, the brands that I represented and loved weren't promoting that kind of content at the time. And so I left and I started Oh the People You Meet for travelers, foodies, and philanthropists seeking authentic local connection that really brings a destination to life.
Yeah.
And so I set off to Africa by myself for 3.5 months, having no idea what I was doing, and went to 7 different countries on that first visit. I summited Kilimanjaro, and it began my love affair with Africa. And so to answer your question, I'm going to focus on Africa, even though there are amazing people that I've met all over the globe. And I'm really excited that 5 years later, after starting Oh the People You Meet, next week, we're doing a private screening of our first ever special on South Africa.
Oh, you were telling me a little bit about
Yeah, so it's a 30-minute special, and we're going to be unveiling it at the WeWork in Chelsea.
Nice.
And there's so many inspiring people across that country. And one of them really stands out. Her name is Amy Kleinhans-Kurd, and she was the first colored South African to win Miss South Africa. And yeah, like crazy. And this is 1994.
In 1994.
In 1994. Oh. And so she won Miss South Africa, and then you go on to Miss Universe. And she refused to carry her nation's flag. You have to remember, this is during the heart of apartheid. She didn't even have the right to vote, which is crazy. Like, this is not...
And she still won Miss...
She won Miss South Africa. So things were changing, but they hadn't changed enough. And what's so powerful about her story is that Nelson Mandela called her on the phone that night, and she earned his attention and his respect, and they became fast friends to the day that he died. And she's since become a role model, not only for South African women, but even my cameramen in South Africa were like, oh my God, it's Amy. And she's just such a powerful role model, and she's gone on to become such an amazing philanthropist, and now she owns a wine farm in Swellendam with Dr. Zolani. And Dr. Zolani, you're like, who's this guy? He's an ex-ANC guerrilla. He was exiled to Australia for 20 years. Mandela brought him back. He went on to build the nation's power grid, and now he's a wine farmer in Swellendam with Amy, and they're about to unveil a Bubbles called AK-47, Amy Kleinhans, and she's turning 47. It's a little bit funny, and it's representative of the struggle, but they're making a positive spin on modern South Africa. And sure, there's change that still needs to happen, but they're on their way, and things are happening. And I think they're such a wonderful representative sample of powerful modern South Africa. And I'm really excited for the opening or unveiling next week of our film, not only because I share their stories and celebrity chefs and winemakers and artists, but we're actually bringing over one of my interviewees, and she's a young woman that hopefully you all can meet. Her name is Palesa. And
such a pretty name.
It's a very pretty name, and she is such a pretty, like, inside and out person. She runs a company called the Township, Maboneng Township Arts Experience.
What is it? The
Maboneng Township Arts Experience. And so I went to visit her last time I was in Cape Town. So there's this trend where people really want to go and have localized experiences. And when you're in areas like Cape Town, townships are something that's intriguing and people want to know, but how can you do so in a sustainable way? And why I like what Maboneng is doing is they actually go and source local artists in the townships, and then they work with local township homeowners and actually make them gallery owners. And so the gallery owners feature the local township artist's work, And then when Maboneng gets a phone call like, oh, a traveler's in town and they want to have a local experience and meet local people and visit a township, now they can do so in a sustainable fashion. So they get to go into the township, they get to meet local artists, they get to go into a township home, they have the opportunity to potentially purchase the art. But now that money also goes back to those people. And so now you're also giving a sustainable revenue stream.
It's helping them.
To the artist and to the homeowners. And so, you know,
win-win.
Right, it's a win-win versus going in and having that zoo-like effect.
Right. And how can people come to this event? Is it open to the public? Can you purchase tickets?
Well, we have to limit the capacity, but if someone is truly interested, they can email Michaela at ohthepeopleYoumeet.com. Or the invite is actually on Eventbrite. So it is public, but we have to cap the tickets just for capacity.
Limited, yes.
Yeah. And we will be doing another private screening on May 1st at Soho House. And then the goal is to roll it wide. But actually, if you go to ohthepeopleYoumeet.com right now, we have a sneak peek sizzle reel of the South Africa piece, and Palesa's interview, the young woman from Maboneng, as well as Amy Kleinhans and Dr. Zolani are all featured in that little sizzle reel. So you get a little taste of what's to come.
Oh, well, everybody get involved, go to the website, donate. You can donate, right?
Well, I mean, donate by going and visiting and
Yes.
having your mind blown by inspiring South Africans.
You're also working with Anna Lynn McCord on a very challenging but crucial topic, which is human trafficking, and we need to bring attention to that. How did you guys meet? And other than the fact that this cause is impactful and needs a strong army of women like you behind it, what triggered the motivation to work together?
Well, I was first introduced to Anna Lynn by a couple of friends of mine that I met through Burning Man, of all places.
The festival?
You could call it that. I would call it a global event. Yes, there is music and there is art, but I think it's a heart-opening experience. And if you're truly curious, in 2015, I did create a video which is one of our highest viewed videos on YouTube on my first Burning Man experience.
Oh, wow.
And the caliber of people that I met there was truly awe-inspiring. And one of them was Peter Ruprecht, who's a really well-known photographer. And he came to me and said, I really want you to meet my partner, Shannon. And I thought, okay. And I didn't really have a lot of context as to why. So being a journalist, I had my notebook out, taking notes. And she started telling me about a woman named Somali Mom and Anna Lynn McCord, who was the president of this organization called Together One Heart. And I had actually heard of Somali Mom and the organization through a number of different outlets. And so I was intrigued. But as I heard the story, I thought, well, Cambodia is a destination that I'm absolutely interested in. Like Africa, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But there's also the UNESCO World Heritage Sites of like Siem Reap,
Right.
which I'm completely intrigued with. And I'm obsessed with Buddhism. And so I really was intrigued in the destination itself. And I knew that there was a great opportunity where it's seeing an influx of international travelers coming. But that also worries me a lot in my role and being concerned about responsibility and sustainable tourism. Yeah. So I thought, okay, this sounds like I could create a video on how to be a responsible traveler, where it really puts the onus on the traveler themselves to do the research in advance. And I found so many amazing projects in Cambodia. The Shintamani Resort is an amazing example of a hotel that's really embedded in their surrounding destination. They employ 90% of their local population. They have a dental clinic, they have an educational clinic, they have a farm. And so they're employing lots of local people. They take such good care of their employees.
But it's accessible to people. It's not like...
So when you choose to stay as an international guest, why wouldn't you stay at a resort that's actually supporting its local community? And if you want to participate, you have the opportunity to go visit those schools. You can go build a home. You can go visit the dental clinics. And so being me, I went out with my crew and we checked all those things out. And it really is wonderful to see when you have an option to support one hotel over another, wouldn't you want to support one that's really embedded in their local community? Yeah. And so Shintamani was a great example, but along the way we met the Fare Circus, which is actually teaching young, unfortunately impoverished children the circus skills, and actually putting on, and it's a sold out show in Siem Reap, which is so wonderful to see. And then we saw Together One Heart. And one thing that you have to understand is these are young women and children who've undergone something that is so atrocious it makes my skin absolutely crawl. And what I love about Anna Lynn, while she's a talented actress and she's absolutely beautiful, and I'm intimidated sitting next to her, so I'm like, is her work with them and the way that those young women look up to her. The fact that she's using her celebrity as a voice for good and a voice for change. Yeah. I can get behind that. And one of the things that the people you meet we try to do is we have 99 contributors across the globe. We're trying to amplify the message that our collective are putting out there. And so people come to us with story ideas and want to highlight inspiring people, and I want to help push that message out there. And so the people you meet's really become a movement to support organizations like Together One Heart and voices like Anna Lynn's in any way we can. And so whether it's through our video series or it's on our site, if it's social media, or if we have the opportunity in a platform like we did last night at the Ludlow House, to have a conversation to get people involved.
Absolutely. And do you guys have any other events together planned right now, like any in LA or anywhere else?
It's in the works.
It's in the works. Okay.
We'll have it on Anna Lynn's and my pages soon.
Right. What is one tip that you can share for travelers? Just in general, it doesn't matter if they're going to Cambodia or just anywhere. What's something smart they can do while traveling? Sure.
I mean, it depends. The first and foremost is always do your research before you go. And actually, I was just quoted in an article about Cuba. And here's a destination that we think is like, oh my gosh, it's open. And so now there's going to be all this international development. Well, actually, no. Only Americans weren't allowed to legally go to Cuba. The rest of the world was going, and international hotel development was happening and has been happening. Now, I think given the proximity, it's going to change even faster. But you have to understand before going into a destination like Cuba or Cambodia or areas of Africa, they're usually more conservative. People have probably not had as much exposure to the world and to media.
Like we do.
Right. And I mean, you know, I've received this criticism before. Someone was like, oh, you're wild and crazy because you went to Burning Man and you're in a costume, but then over here you're in a black dress. And I'm like, well, I do my homework before I go, and I understand what happens and how people are and what the expectation is, and am I being respectful of where I'm going? So when I'm in Doha in business meetings or interviewing, I'm going to cover my shoulders and my knees because that's not appropriate
over there. Yeah,
right. So it's knowing where you're at, understanding cultural differences. You know, sometimes unfortunately there's a lot of areas in the world where women can't be as vocal.
You have to be more careful.
Yeah, you have to be respectful and understand cultural differences. Do your homework, especially if you want to volunteer. Really make sure that you understand the organizations that you're going to volunteer with. And I give the example of, you know, all these school visits. Yeah. How would we feel if a bunch of tourists from Japan or China or Korea came in and started taking pictures of our children in school? Like, that would be like illegal. That wouldn't be cool.
Right.
It'd be disrupting their learning,
like
and it'd be
on social media. Like,
right. It's creepy,
you know.
actually. So, like, why should we then go to their home and start taking pictures of their kids? It's kind of strange if you think about it. And so I think whenever you're coming in to volunteer, you have to really make sure that you understand the work the organization's doing and make sure you're not disrupting not only the children, but maybe the volunteers that are actually like dedicating their life.
And going there for the right reasons.
Right, exactly.
Not just like, oh, I'm taking a picture, I'm helping out. It's like, no, you're genuinely going there. You don't even need to do that.
Exactly.
Because you want to help out this organization? And like you said, do your research and make sure it's a
Totally.
legitimate
Totally. So
organization.
our video, How to Be a Responsible Traveler in Cambodia, which features Anna Lynn, definitely highlights a couple different organizations that we did our homework and figured out were doing well. And then also, even in Cuba and other areas of Africa we do a lot of work in, we focus very heavily on organizations we know are sustainably supporting. And so Africa is a really great example, just because they have so many surrounding communities in rural areas, that if you go to a Singida, which is a super luxury lodge, you can be assured that they're invested in their community. They're employing local staff. They can take you out to see a school or a village. They can take you to a wildlife project, because you know what? They're there on the ground every day supporting those people. And they understand the impact of international tourism dollars on keeping it going. And they're working with their local community day in and day out. So you as a traveler aren't having a negative impact on those people.
And that's really important.
Yeah.
And then lastly, where are you off to next?
I hope to be going back to Australia. I'm a big fan. But something I'm really excited about, I have 2 destinations that I've never been to before, and I'm going to be speaking at the African Travel Association in Kigali, Rwanda in August, which I'm totally pumped about.
Mind blown.
I'm so excited. And then I think I'll be doing some filming in Ethiopia.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank
super
you
excited.
so much, Michaela.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Keep inspiring others.
Oh, the people you meet.
Oh, the people you meet.